The hour of 9:45 having arrived according to that clock, I'd like to call the Tuesday, March 11th County Board meeting to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Allen. Present. Auger. Here. Valerio.
Here.
Castro.
Here.
Nevis. Here. Donahue. Here. Ford. Here. Rod. Here. Good.
Here.
Heyman. Here. O'Shea. Kenyon. Here. Zarek.
Here.
Lash.
Here.
Lewis. Here. Molina. Pollock. Here. Sheffro.
Here.
Silva.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Sterrett.
Present.
Taylor.
Here.
Vasquez. Here. Winicki.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. If you would please stand for the pledge and remain standing for the prayer. Today, I would like to ask Jerry Reagan to come to the microphone to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Reagan is the former Plato Township Supervisor, member of the Executive Committee of the Kane County Farm Bureau, and an all-around good guy. He's also a Marine Corps, he was a Marine Corps Sergeant from the Korean War. So, Jerry, if you'd lead us in the pledge, I'd appreciate it.
As we say this pledge today, there'll be as important words as you say all week probably, and we have to strive to make sure that young people understand the importance of this Pledge of Allegiance. So proceed. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if you'll remain standing, please. I'd like to ask Pastor Gail Haas with Stories Come Alive Ministries if she would come forward to the microphone to lead us in prayer. Gail, it's good to see you.
Thank you. I'm going to read from Jeremiah 32. Ah, sovereign Lord, you have made the heavens and the earth by your great power and outstretched arm. Nothing is too hard for you. O great and powerful God, whose name is the Lord Almighty, great are your purposes and mighty are your deeds. Your eyes are open to all the ways of men. Let's pray. Mighty God, thank you that we can gather together freely here. I ask for your blessing upon the leaders that are gathered here. I thank you, God, that I can commit them to you who has all power, and you will show yourself mighty on their behalf. I pray for wisdom for them, the decisions that they make. I thank you, God, that you are eager to give counsel to all who ask. And Lord, I pray over their families that are represented here, Lord, that whatever they're facing, if it is an emotional issue or a financial issue or a health issue, relational issue, that nothing is too hard for you. Nothing is too difficult for you. And these today, Lord, I commit into your care. Ask your blessing upon them now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Pastor Haas. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from February 11th, 2014. May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from that meeting? So moved by Ms. Sterrett, second by Ms. Lesh. Are there any thoughts, comments, changes? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion passes, so the minutes are approved. You know, this morning we have a stuffed full agenda, both in issues and speakers. Regarding the director compensation, we do have the votes to pass that piece of business. They're assembled. We also have at least 8 members of the board who will want to speak in favor of it. John Hoscheit spoke in favor of it as our finance chairman, and then also voted for it at executive committee. But John is away today out of state with his son, and we still have 4 standing committee actions that need to take place in this next month. So rather than having a part of the conversation today and a similar conversation next month, we'll combine those two discussions at the April board meeting. So thank you very much. The presentation and discussions today, we have two. The first is the 4-H Government Day. For introduction of the program and students, I'd like to ask Ms. Wonicki if she would welcome our guests and lay out the program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, are we bypassing the new and unfinished business, or are we doing that at the end of the meeting? That's number 5 on the agenda. It's above the presentation and discussion.
We're on, I haven't,
We did the approval of the minutes, and then the next thing on the agenda is the new and unfinished business.
Which is 4H.
We're just worried. Go on right there.
Which is 5 is the first item. A, B, and C.
so new and unfinished business. Let's see.
After the presentations, I do have unfinished business I'd like to discuss.
It depends on what subject you would be bringing forward, because if it's not on the agenda, we're not going to be addressing it today. We will not be addressing it today. So, we are going to be following the agenda, Ms. Taylor. Okay. Number 5, new and unfinished business, presentations, the 4-H Government Day. Ms. Wonicki.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'd like to welcome all the 4-H students. This is always an exciting time of the year for us, our March meeting. Normally what we do is go around the room and have each 4-H student state their name, where they're attending school or if they're homeschooled, and who they are shadowing. And we can't forget the 4-H students who may be sitting in the audience as well. So why don't we start up there. Brian, the little gal behind you. And speak loudly. Yeah, speak loudly.
My name is Bethany Hahn. I live in St. Charles and I'm homeschooled. And today I am shadowing Mr. Pollock.
I'm Megan Kirkendall. I'm from St. Charles East and I'm shadowing Mr.
Very good.
I'm Eric Gunterman. I'm from Inglewood High School and I'm also shadowing Mrs. Taylor.
Hi, I'm Sarah Sindecki. I go to St. Charles East and I'm shadowing
Okay. Let's see. We'll go to the center here.
I'm Jared Glatz. I go to Burlington Central and I'm shadowing.
Okay, speak up if you can. So, okay. Go ahead, Rachel. You're shadowing. Thank you.
I'm Megan Stanley. I go to Burlington Central and I'm shadowing Mr. Smith.
I'm Gia Nardini. I go to St. Charles East High School, and I'm shadowing Mr. Davist.
Very good. Just pass the mic around.
I'm Rebecca Rickert, and I'm shadowing Mr. Lewis, and I'm homeschooled.
I'm Megan Smith. I go to St. Charles East High School, and I'm shadowing Mr. Philip Lewis.
Very good. I gotta get this back here.
Don't we have a young man here?
Oh, I'm sorry. Pass you by.
I'm Daniel Smingy. I'm homeschooled, and I am shadowing Mike Kenyon.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm Matthew McKellar. I'm homeschooled, and I'm shadowing Chairman Lawson.
I'm Emily Schildmeyer. I go to St. Charles East High School, and I'm shadowing Rebecca Gillum.
I'm Jordan Parodic. I go to St. Charles East, and I'm shadowing Kurt.
Hi, my name is Audrey Gatch. I go to Redling Middle School, and I'm shadowing Mrs. Castro.
I'm Kyle Jarka. I'm homeschooled, and I'm shadowing Drew Fraz, the coolest guy ever.
It's a tough act to follow.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know how much that cost. I'm Brittany McCullough. I go to Rosary High School, and I'm shadowing Miss Allen.
Very good. And there's students in the audience.
Go ahead, Kyle.
I'm Jessica Paust, and I go to Kane High School, and I'm shadowing Mr. Rickert.
Very good.
I'm Kyle McCullough. I go to Marmion Academy, and I'm shadowing Lieutenant Gromes.
I'm Chris McKellar. I'm homeschooled, and I'm shadowing Mr. Van Kerkhoff.
I'm Sarah Anderson. I go to St. Charles East, and I'm shadowing Janice.
I'm Sam Letterman. I go to Caneland High School, and I'm also shadowing Janice.
I am Nick Homer. I am homeschooled, and I'm shadowing Sheriff Pat Perez.
I'm Bramborger Johnson. I go to Batavia High, and I'm shadowing Terry Hunt.
It's also very cool.
I'm Bethany Larson. I go to Geneva High School, and I'm shadowing Sandy Wickman.
I'm Emily Smith. I go to St. Charles East High School, and I'm shadowing Mr. Richter.
I'm Ian Armacy. I'm homeschooled, and I'm shadowing Carl Shadle.
Anybody else?
Who are you shadowing?
I'm shadowing myself. I'm shadowing the coolest guy ever.
I just wanted to announce, too, that after our meeting today, there will be a luncheon at 11:30 at the University of Illinois Extension Office on the west side of Randall Road, kind of across from our circuit clerk's office. And if you need a ride, if somebody needs a ride, just come and see me. We'll get you a ride over to the luncheon. And then lastly, I'd just like to announce that we have a program, and it's the Junior County Board. And if you're interested in participating in that program, just see one of the county board members after the meeting, and we can take you upstairs and possibly set you up. Anything else, Mike? No? Okay, thank you all. Welcome.
Let's give everybody a hand who's joining us today. Okay, Mitzi, would you put up the picture of our tremendous road crew? And next on the agenda, I believe, is the chairman's presentation regarding KDOT. Okay, no, if you'll bring that. Okay, we have a special presentation today, and I know that this group is going to be very busy tonight and again tomorrow. As you know, we've had 3.5 to 4 times as much snow and as much work in the Department of Transportation snow plowing as we've had in any previous year. So I've asked, actually as opposed to last year, I've asked Bill Edwards and Tom Rickert and Carl Shadle, who are representing the team at Kane County Department of Transportation, please to come forward.
Do we bring our shadow?
Yeah, sure, bring the shadows. You know, my wife Sarah, who's here today, put together, shadowing, thank you, TR. Sarah put together a little gift from myself and the board to show our appreciation for the outstanding work that's been done. I had the great privilege and pleasure to go out one night in one of these huge trucks with Bill Edwards And as we were going along Kinslinger Road, it felt like it was the Polar Express, because one of the commuter trains was leaving the station out of Geneva, going out toward Elburn, and as these huge plows were throwing the snow way out and the commuter train was going along, it was really an amazing thing. The dedication that the fellas have shown during this very tough time has been just amazing. So first of all, we have something especially for Bill. So Matt? See, I figure that these guys are like the abdominal snowmen. And so this T-shirt, Bill, I think it's going to be a little too big for you, but here's the abdominal snowman. And I can't pronounce the word, but...
We have to see it too.
Can we see it? Yeah.
All right.
So when they go out to hit those roads, they are unstoppable. Indomitable.
He's seen him early in the morning.
Then, I've also had the privilege, thanks to all the people who allow us to serve, to go over to the room where, where there's breaks, where there's literally cots, so that folks can rest. And we have a special presentation that will go in that room, if it's all right. This is a gift that Sarah put together on behalf of myself and also the board members. What it says is, Bear of a Winter, 2013-2014, Respect and Gratitude, Kane County Board, Chairman Chris Lawson, March 11th, 2014. So thank you very much, Bill. Thank you, Tom. Would you like to say anything? I'll turn this. Okay. It's probably also as easy. Do you guys want to back him up? He needs no backup.
I'd just like to say thanks and also put a shout out to the Sheriff's Department, Emergency Management, and KaneCon. If they're not out there doing their job, it would be very difficult for us to get our job done. Also, all the other local agencies that got it done for snow removal, they, we pull out of our driveways onto, city, village streets to get to township, county roads, and state routes. So it's not just our roads, our families, and the Kane County residents, they drive all them roads. So thanks a lot.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. One last thing that I'd like to mention is that hard work is very important, but smart hard work is even better. And what the leadership in the Department of Transportation has demonstrated this year in having the adequate reserves set aside of salt, it's always anticipating what could go wrong and to protect our residents. So thank you very much. Okay, we have several speakers this morning on zoning petitions, and I think that I'll insert the speakers into each zoning petition as it's brought forward. The first is petition number 4309, Rutland Township, Ann's Pet Service. And there are objectors, neighboring and area property owners. For 4309, a person who is asked to go first is Jerry Dedina. And so if you would come forward, and then the next person who will come forward is Kelly, your wife. And then we'll go through in the order of Ronald and Marlene Weber. It's customary at these meetings that it's approximately 3 minutes, and there are 2, 4, 6, 8 speakers on this resolution by itself, and we're here to serve you.
Okay.
So will 3 minutes be about right?
It should be.
Okay.
Should be
Thanks,
fairly
Jerry.
close. My name is Jerry Dedina. I live on 14N 330 Thurnow Road, Hampshire, Illinois. Dear board members, I would like to start by saying that we have been involved as objectors to the zoning petition 4309 from the start.
My wife, neighbors, and I truly are against this dog kennel. All the private landowners on the road are against this and have voiced their concerns at one of the many meetings or have written a letter that was presented to the Development Board meeting. Again, I state all the landowners are against this. I truly believe you must take this into account when you vote. As of Monday, the property is not owned by the petitioner. It is dependent on the vote today. To me, this makes no sense. How can a zoning be changed on the property by someone who does not even own it? They could do that to you and I. They could put a sign in my land and put a zoning petition in and change my zoning on my property. For this reason alone, the petition should be denied. Thurnow Road is a narrow, curvy, mile-and-a-half road that is between Route 72 and 47. It cannot support the increased traffic, and the blind curves are a safety issue. In fact, in your 2040 plan, 2040 plan, this is it, that your board adopted on May 8, 2012, Thurnow Road is mentioned on page 185. Let me quote what is written about Thurnow Road. 185. Thurnow Road is a traditional gravel farm lane that supports crop farming, horse farms, rural residents, and the seasonal home to the Swanson hawk. Right in your 2040 petition, it's a lane. It's not a road, it's a lane. You guys made this and approved it. I didn't. What's the definition of a lane? Excuse me. Is a roadway and bridges that carry low volumes of traffic, are less than 15 feet wide, and are only a single lane wide. Vehicles traveling in opposite directions must slow or stop to pass each other. In rural areas, these are often called country lanes. Right in your 2040 plan. You guys call it a lane. Thurnow Road is by name only. Your 2040 plan states that it's a traditional gravel farm lane. How can a farm lane safely support the increased traffic from the kennel? It will be said by the petitioners that there are horse stables on both ends of the road and that the horse stables are the same thing as a kennel regarding usage. In fact, it is not true. The two stables are working farms that produce crops to sell or feed to their horses. What does the dog kennel produce? I can answer that as well. Noise from 45 barking dogs, increased traffic, decreased property values for the surrounding properties. With all this said, why would the petitioner still want to have a kennel on this property when no one on the road, lane, it's called a lane, supports it? You will hear that the petitioner, and I quote from the minutes from the January 15 development meeting, once again, I'm quoting from the meeting that was approved. As to the business, Mr. Richmond stated, the petitioner did speak to the neighbors prior who, at the time, supported the business. Wrong. My wife and I have never been in contact with the petitioner prior to these meetings and never supported the kennel. The only prior contact was with our 13-year-old daughter, who has no authority to give approval. Do not approve this petition. My wife and I purchased our home for the peace and quiet. This kennel will deny us this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Danita. Next on the schedule is Mrs. Danita. Kelly?
Hello, my name is Kelly Dedina. I live at 14N 330 Thurnow Road. I stand here in front of you as an objector to Ann's Pet Service. There is just one person here that it will help her pocketbook if you vote yes to this kennel, and will be placing such a burden on the residents of Kane County. Again, she doesn't even own the residence at Thurnow Road. It's a very narrow gravel road. This parcel is 11 acres for sale, with 6 acres right now that is tillable. The asking price is $315,000 pending on the approval of your vote. Has she even been down the road lately? The ice is starting to melt. Bumps, divots are starting to form. Potholes are multiplying numerous. Our daughter's dying to get on her bicycle and ride through them and come in as a muddy kid. Here with this pending sale, Ann's Pet Service owner is the only one who's going to gain financially from this. It is a business. It is a business owner As a business owner, will she be willing to give a $150,000 bond to the Rutland Township to help with the maintenance of the deteriorating road? Jay Schultz, the road commissioner for Rutland, stood in front of the board last month and said that he doesn't have the funds in his budget to maintain Thurnow with the increased traffic of 40-plus dogs that will bring. This commissioner has years of experience in his position. We should trust and hear what he's saying. The business will continue to burden other the residents of Thurnow Lane. I ask you, how does the kennel fit for your 2040 plan that you spent time on? It's going to increase traffic, increase accidents getting onto Thurnow from Route 47 or 72. It's going to increase the traffic. It's going to increase dispatching for the Kane County Sheriff to come for car accidents. It's going to increase the dispatching for the Kane County Sheriff to come for noise disturbance. It'll increase the calls for ambulance, increase the attention to the neighborhood, increase many other things. The residential zone is gone. It'll be a business district. The decrease of the value of our homes, where is it, when is it that I and the other property owners file a disclaimer stating that we're not in favor of this kennel? When we go try to sell our house, we're going to be losing money. The peaceful, safe residence area will be gone. This is only a negative impact with this. The owner of the kennel will be financially profiting from this, while individuals will be overwhelmed with the financial burden. There is only a negative impact here with this deal. She stands here financially to gain importance that will be for the good of the entire population of Kane County. How many thousands of residents will this affect from your 2040 plan? And shouldn't it be protecting and benefiting us? The number one person here will be Ann's Kennel that will gain, and she'll cause such havoc and destruction to this lane. Why are you even considering this after all the time that you spent developing the 2040 plan? The greater good for the majority of Kane County residents will be affected because of this one person. This is simply not fair or reasonable if this is what your standard is. Ann Kennel stands to bring a profit to her pocketbook and a negative impact to Thurnow Road, Rutland Township, and thousands of people in Kane County. Clearly, it does not deserve to be suffered, all of us, for one person's future business attempt. Just 2 years ago, you spent time on your 2040 plan, and it states that the Thurnow Lane should have the businesses, the horse stable, and the agriculture purposes. Your committee didn't even call it a road. Dog kennel was never stated. It just stated agriculture related. I'm sure that 2040 plan didn't just take one meeting to develop. You spent time. Is this time on the clock? Which means taxpayer money. Hard work. We all work hard for our money, not money for a lawsuit. Why would you change your mind on allowing this? In the past, the member had stated that you treat all kennels the same. Well, I ask you, has there been this many objectors? Ann is welcome to the neighborhood, but not the kennel. The Heine family, the Franklin family, the Dedina family, the Farwell family, the Ferran family, the Weber family, the Conroe family, the Klowski family have asked you to say no. We've asked you in many ways, meetings, emails, phone messages. We've reached out and stated to you. Yes, the entire road is what I'm saying. And we all want you to remember your 2040 plan. Many burdens, only one benefit, one pocketbook benefits. Please hear us. See that it doesn't follow your 2040 plan. Financial gain of one individual shouldn't outweigh the financial burden or devastation to numerous others, and we don't clearly deserve to suffer as a result. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Dedina. Next in the order of speakers is Ronald and Marlene Weber. Ronald, are you going to speak for your family?
No, my wife is going to speak a little bit.
Marlene is also.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to give a brief history. My wife and I, we live directly north of the proposed kennel. and approximately 200 feet from the building that we will be looking directly at, that's put 309 foot back and our house is back, so we will be looking at the building, and there's no buffer zone. From the time that we saw the petition in November, we have been dead against it because it doesn't belong on Thurnow Lane, as it's called in the 2040 plan. The original petition for the kennel included a 50 by 100 foot building, 45 stalls, 60 dogs, a 50 by 50 play area, and no mention of noise and traffic. The revised petition still included a 50 by 100 foot building, even though the number of dogs was reduced to 45 with 45 stalls, a 50 by 50 play area with no mention of noise, even though noise was a significant issue at the ZBA, where it was denied. The traffic study concentrated that they presented on 10 dogs and resulting in low traffic, whereas 40 dogs would result in 68 vehicles a day. Realistically, a full kennel, which they originally asked for, with the same number of stalls as 60, and with 60 dogs, it would result in over 100 cars per day, mostly during the drop-off and pick-off times, and this is going to cause a lot of congestion on this narrow road. It's sparsely traveled. The kennel belongs on a main thoroughfare, like 72, 20, or 47, where zoning for a kennel wouldn't be a problem and where much land is for sale. There's a big kennel over there now, Country Kennels. It's at the intersection of 20 and the end of Switzer Road. They've expanded 3 times. There's up to 200 dogs there. Furthermore, every homeowner and landowner on Thurnow Lane is against this proposed kennel. I'd like to read from your 2040 plan what you say about agriculture. This is from the Kane County 2040 plan. I'll read this, not entirely, but parts that are significant. The agriculture category applies to extensive areas on the 2040 land use map. These areas generally contain priority farmland or farmland of statewide importance as defined by the Illinois Department of Ag. Some of the land in the ag category is also used for farmsteads, very low residential uses, or small specialty farms. The long-standing strategy of the 2040 plan is to prevent the conversion of these areas to non-ag uses. Further, the plan recognizes that many farmers and ag landowners may wish to create an additional lot or erect a dwelling unit for a family member on a portion of their land which is indicated as ag. However, any new lot would be subjected to review according to the F1 rural residential criteria of Section 823 and other requirements. So, an overriding policy of Kane County is to support agriculturalists on the land they operate, thereby enhancing the prosperity, efficiency, and continued long-term health of ag activities in Kane County. Kane County policy supports individual residential land uses on property that's adequately suited for the intended use, and they go about the soils and everything else. Here's 3 issues that affect us directly that have to be met. One is access will not create dangerous traffic conditions or congestion. 2, the use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property or diminish property values in the area. These are 3 conditions listed here that would even prevent approval for a residence, and we're talking about a kennel in this issue. So very surprising. There's another issue specific to our property which I addressed at the ZBA and subsequently has never been mentioned by the petitioner, and that is contamination of our land by a drain tile, which I believe would be directly under the proposed septic field and 50 by 50 building. Since the Water Resources Department is concerned with stormwater, there is no one responsible for ensuring that the building is put up and septic field laid, that the drain tile will be located, let alone moved. According to Scott Hedgick of the WRD, no map exists locating this drain tile, so we don't know exactly where it is. This drain line opens up on our property, ready to distribute contaminants from chemicals, cleaners, etc., used to clean the kennels. And we know there's a lot of them used. 3 of the issues that have been previously mentioned under Kane County policy are as follows. The first issue mentioned in the 2040 plan is traffic and congestion. This was previously covered. Suffice it to say, this lane, as Thurnow Road is referred to, sees almost no traffic besides a school bus, mailman, and owners of residences where 100 cars a day will create nuisance traffic conditions. The second issue mentioned in the 2040 plan states injurious to use and enjoyment of other property. The noise from barking dogs in the play area will certainly disturb our peace and quiet. The main reason we purchased this parcel of land in 1976 and built our home in 1997 is to have some peace and quiet. We know of 3 kennel owners, and we have talked to an appraiser, where noise, barking from dogs has been the main issue of complaint from adjoining property owners. There's no way to keep dogs from barking when they're in a play area unless you got one there at a time, and he might be looking at the rabbits that are coming by and bark at them. The third issue is diminished property values. The appraiser I contacted said that when litigation was involved, the determined loss of commercial property value was 12% when a kennel was involved on the adjoining property. And he thought that it would be greater for residential. How can zoning be approved? Number one, it doesn't even meet the 2040 plan of Kane County. It violates the plan, in fact. 2, there are many unresolved issues. 3, there's unaddressed issues, noise. 4, there's no natural buffer zone that exists. And any buffer zone that's put up would take years to grow, long being useful after we're dead. It's this parcel, this kennel is not needed on a 300-foot wide parcel.
Thank you.
It's a long 1,500-foot piece.
I'm sorry, Mr. Weber?
Yes.
I
just got
appreciate-
1 second.
All right.
Last but not least, her business will be making a profit at our expense. The kennel don't belong here. Sorry I took too long.
No, that's okay. Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of good material that's being presented here. But the custom is that it's about 3 minutes for each presenter. There are 8. That means 24 minutes. The first 3 speakers, first was about 10 to 20% overtime. Second was about twice the amount of time. Mr. Weber, it was a really fine presentation. It was more than twice as long as the customary 3 minutes. I would just ask folks, as we respect what you're saying, I would ask you to respect the custom of fitting in a whole lot of work that we have today. And but I do respect what you're saying.
I
And I
apologize
respect
for
the
taking.
importance.
I apologize for taking too much time, sir.
No, I'm so glad you're here. Ms. Weber, Mrs. Weber, excuse me, Marlene Weber. And then the next up will be Mr. Jay Schultz. So if you can line up behind.
My name is Marlene Weber. I live at 140 Thurnau Road, Hampshire, Illinois, on the north side of the proposed kennel. I would like to remind you that in the Kane County 2040 plan, under planning issues concerning ag, food, and farms, under objectives, it states, 1, to protect farmland as a valuable natural resource and economically productive land use through land use policy in both municipal and county land use. 2, to discourage projects that will have a detrimental impact on the preservation of agricultural lands. Under legislation, it states, Kane County's commitment to agricultural protection has evolved over a 20-year period. On July 22, 1980, Governor James R. Thompson signed Executive Order 80-4, Preservation of Illinois Farmlands. This executive order eventually led to the Illinois Farmland Preservation Act, establishing a new state policy to promote the protection of Illinois farmland from unnecessary conversion and degradation. In 1980, enabled by the new legislation and responding to an increasing threat to agricultural land in Kane County, the County Board amended the 1976 Land Use Plan. Objectives and policies were added to specifically protect agriculture as a valuable natural resource and an economically productive land use. These objectives and policies were reinforced in the 1982 Comprehensive Land Use Plan and were strengthened in the subsequent 2020 and 2030 Land Resource Management Plans. All of the tillable land on the 11-acre parcel where the proposed kennel would be located has previously been tilled with corn or soybeans for well over 40 years. The farmer, Mr. Conroe, who farmed this land for the last 27 years, said that if the kennel is built, the remaining land would then be useless to farm. This would remove productive farmland from any further ag use and is completely adverse to the Kane County 2040 plan and its objectives and legislation. If the proposed kennel is approved, these acres of land recently in 2013 in productive farm crops will quickly revert to noxious weeds this spring and will instead produce thistle, buckthorn, wild honeysuckle, wild floribunda roses, and dandelions if the acreage is not maintained. These noxious weeds will contaminate all the surrounding crops and properties. As my husband previously mentioned, according to your 2040 plan, even an additional residence for a family member cannot be built if it will be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property owners. Now, since the 2040 plan excludes an additional house, a home, a residence, certainly a 50 by 100-foot dog kennel would be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property owners and a constant annoyance for hours on end with dogs barking in a play area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Weber. Next up is Jay Schultz. Okay, Jay is going to save some time. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Weber. Carol Farwell, would Carol come forward? And then if Dan Kowalski is the next person after Carol Farwell. And again, thank you very much for respecting the custom of the amount of time, roughly 3 minutes.
This is very short. Carol Farwell is my name. I'm at 14 and 403 Thurnau Road, exactly opposite where this building would go. I have 2 brief points that are important to everybody. We, as property owners, must disclose to all prospective buyers of our property any defect item that could interfere with or alter the use or value of this property. We know full well that the change of the zoning to special use and the establishment of the dog kennel will seriously lower the market value of all of our property on this road. Therefore, in considering the local government's plan to change the zoning to special use, all property owners on Thurnau Road have declared at this time that this change will in fact alter the market value of our property. We will, as a result of this, look to just compensation from the government body and or the kennel owners if the kennel is approved. This disclosure will become a permanent part of all property ownerships on this Thurnau Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Farwell. Next up, Daniel Kowalski.
My name is Daniel Kowalski. I own the land on 15N004 Thurnau Road. This land has been in our family for 70 years, mostly in farming. That's what it's continuing. My son has continued that tradition. We also have a horse farm with roughly 20 horses on it, mostly retired horses. My concern is the additional traffic that it will create. There is very light traffic now, maybe 6 cars a day. You know, I've been out there and I've noticed the traffic patterns. And I'm concerned we move horses back and forth across that road, and this may make it a more dangerous situation with this additional traffic. Also, the condition of the road is not fair. The budget is not allowed to maintain it, you know, in a way that it's, you know, to make it perfect. It's usually under severe conditions or even, you know, rainy conditions, the road gets really bad. And with additional traffic, it would even make it worse. And just does not seem like the place to have a dog kennel. I think you'd want a gravel, dirt road or something, not dirt, I mean a paved road, or maybe there's much land available within the area that could be used. This just does not seem the appropriate use for this area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kowalski. And finally, Mr. Scott Richmond, the attorney for the petitioner, if you'd come forward.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Board members. My name is Scott Richmond. I'm here with my client, Ann Sarich. We're very pleased to be before you today, and I think what you've heard is a lot of passion from the homeowners, and we've heard that a lot throughout this process. My client is looking to run a small business in Kane County on a piece of property that is well suited to it. What you have heard from the residents is a lot of conjecture and innuendo regarding property values, effective traffic, the ability of the road to handle this property, to handle this business. But if you look at the facts that have been presented in this, there was a traffic study that we commissioned that KDOT reviewed and agreed with, that this land use will have minimal impact on Thurnau Road. The matter also went before the Historic Preservation Commission, which is charged with the upkeep and making sure that Thurnau Road is an appropriate road for this business. There was a 5-0 vote in favor of this project in finding that it will not materially affect Thurnau Road to have this business. Ann is planning on moving onto the property. This will be her residence, and she wants to run her business on it, and that is a dog kennel. It's a small kennel comparatively, and it will have a minimal impact on all the residents and on Thurnau Road. What she has proposed to do to accommodate the Webbers who live next door is to move the outside part of the kennel to the other side of her building. That will completely screen it from them. In addition, to plant trees in the area that's now open so that they are screened from her property. In addition, she plans to plant trees on the south side of the property to further screen it. And the facility itself will be over 400 feet back from the road. The reality is nobody is going to see this facility once it's built and once the trees are planted. The other issue that the residents have brought up is noise. Ann has said repeatedly in this process that she's not going to have more than 3 dogs outside at a time. If she just bought the property and moved in, she'd be allowed to own 3 dogs under the Kane County rules. And she could put those dogs outside and let them run all day. But that's not what she does. What she does is she has 3 dogs outside. There is a staff member out with those dogs, which means the dogs aren't going to bark when there's a staff member present. And if one barks, the dog can be brought inside. Ann has asked me to speak because she's an understated person. She's a quiet person. And the fact is, that's the way she runs her business. She's not here to have 45 barking dogs. That's not good for her business. Her clients don't want that. The facility will be built with soundproofing inside. There won't be windows. It'll be air conditioned, so even in the summertime, you're not going to have windows open with barking dogs. And she's going to limit the dogs that will go outside. The bottom line is this is an appropriate parcel of land for this business. And her business fits the qualifications of a special use because it doesn't adversely affect the health and welfare of the surrounding properties. There's been no factual evidence that this property will have any detrimental effect on values of those other properties. And it fits in the trend of development in the general area. So I want to thank you for your consideration of this. If you have any questions, my client is here obviously to answer them, and we can too. But after this long road, we would ask that you vote in favor of Ann's Pet Service for approval of this special use on the Thurnau Road property. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Richmond. Okay, so obviously we have a controversy here where the zoning board recommendation was to deny. Our development committee recommendation was to approve. I think it'd be appropriate for the first person to address the controversy to be the board member who serves this area, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This isn't my district, and I do have a lot have to say. However,
Would you turn on your mic or speak into your mic, please?
in the interest of expediency and the fact that some of our 4-H students are starting to sleep, I would make a motion that we table this petition until next month.
Okay, we have a motion to table till next month. Is there a second? There's a second for Mr. Ford. Any discussion on that motion and second? Mr. Frost.
I really see no need to table this. We've heard fresh testimony. We've heard it for the second time. Everybody's here. Everybody's in the room. I think the Development Committee is prepared to talk about it.
Okay. Ms. Sterrett?
Yes, I was wondering...
Could you speak into the mic so we can hear you?
Can you hear me? Okay, great. I was wondering if it would be appropriate to have maybe someone, obviously we've heard from the client, but then also on the other side, I don't know if it's appropriate with, I think it's Keith Burkout that deals with these very issues, that could give us more background of maybe some of the positives as well. And if not, that's fine.
I think that the zoning board has, their recommendation is denial. Development Committee, I think we should go to that rather than redoing the entire piece of work. I think that I see Ms. Barrero, your hand is raised as chairman of the Development Committee.
I'd like to make a correction. The zoning board recommended, they denied it, but then the staff is neutral on it.
Okay.
Well, that's true.
So
that's a correction. Staff is neutral, and the zoning board recommended deny.
Okay, thank you.
But I understand all the passion that the speakers have, and I don't agree with tabling this. I think we've heard everything we're going to hear going forward, and I think we should make a decision.
Thank you, Ms. Barrero. Mr. Donahue?
I'd like to speak in favor of some due process here. I mean, this thing has gone through all of the steps, and I believe everybody's here, everybody's up to speed. With all due respect to Mr. Smith, I don't think this motion to table is going to expedite anything. I think it's just delaying the proceedings. I'd like to see that motion withdrawn. I'd like to see us discuss and then ultimately vote on this now, because I'm not sure that anything new can possibly be gleaned in the next 30 days.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Donahue. Mr. Kenyon, then Mr. Vasquez.
Point of order, as counsel, I don't think we debate table motions.
Mm-hmm.
Not debatable, isn't that correct?
Well, fine. Then we'll go straight to the vote on the tabled motion.
Up or down, yes or no?
Okay, so the motion before the board is to table this petition. The clerk will call the roll.
Allen.
This is the motion to table.
This is motion to table.
Hunter.
No.
Barrow.
No.
Castro.
No.
Davis. No. Donahue. No. Ford. Yes. Frost. No. Gilliam.
No.
Heyman.
No.
Kenyon. No. Zarek.
No.
Losh.
No.
Lewis.
No.
Mulligan. Pollock. No. Sheffro.
No.
Silva. Smith.
Yes.
Sarah. Yes. Taylor.
No.
Esquez.
No.
Panicki.
No.
Okay, so the motion to table fails. Now we'll go to, is there a motion to pass the petition or to approve the petition? And then if there's a motion and a second, we'll have the conversation and then we'll make a decision. So motion, excuse me. Okay, so motion to move to approve the petition. Okay, motion to approve the petition is made by Ms. Barrero, seconded by Mr. Donahue. Now discussion on that. I think that Mr. Vasquez was next in the batting order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have just one question. You know, when you do a zoning change and stuff, usually you go through findings of facts and stuff on the issue. Staff had to ask those questions, and I'm just curious to see if anything came up when they were doing that particular process.
Okay. With that specific question to, that material that was brought forward, I think, Mr. Burkhout, Could you come forward could you focus that question a little for us, Mr. Vasquez?
Yeah, well, when you do a zoning change, obviously you have to do findings of facts and stuff, whether or not the zoning change will have an impact on different areas. And usually there's a list of 10 items, I believe, that you have to go through. And because I was not at the committee meeting, I think that would help me in making my determination as to whether I will support or not support this, what they found out in those questions.
Okay, is it possible to make is there like not a checklist, but the first question I think that's being asked is, were all the proper procedures followed?
Yes.
And then, so the answer to that's yes, naturally. Then the second piece is, what were the findings as far as impact? I mean, we've heard very clearly the impact on neighbors and also the argument of the petitioner. Are there things that you feel that were brought up that you found doing the staff work that might help the board members come to their conclusion?
That wasn't my question. My question is I wanted to know what the findings of facts and what the answers were. I'm not asking for other opinions. I just want to know what those were.
In general, we found that as submitted, it would not be detrimental to the area. In general, for kennels, we advise people that come to us if they want to do something to look more in the western part of the county, central part, more isolated agricultural rural areas because of the noise issue and the traffic issues. The waste is a minor issue, but generally it's the noise. And this seemed to be in fitting with that. There was distance from neighboring properties, especially houses, with the exception of Mr. Weber to the north.
Okay. Mr. Vasquez, does that take care of that?
Thank you. Yeah, that kind of answered my question. I wanted to know if there was any negative comments from staff with regards to the findings of facts, and that, will make my decision a little easier.
Okay. Mr. Donahue and then Ms. Auger.
Thank you. This originally went to the Zoning Board of Appeals, where they heard essentially all of the testimony there at the public hearing that we heard here today, and that we also heard at the Development Committee. That board voted 3-2 to deny, and it came to our Development Committee with a negative recommendation from the ZBA, the 3-2 vote. But at that time, it did have a recommendation for approval from our professional staff. And the staff report did indicate that it did outline the findings of fact and provided responses to the finding of fact indicating that it was an appropriate use. So because we had a recommendation of denial from the ZBA and favorable recommendation from the staff, we tabled it for 30 days so that members of the Development Committee could go out, make a physical inspection of the site, which I did, taking into consideration all of the comments that were made by the neighbors at our first Development Committee. What I found was, with the matter of the road, is that it is, and I agree that there was a traffic study done. KDOT did not express any concerns. My experience on the road in the middle of winter during a blizzard was that it's passable and that it's certainly adequate to serve this need. It's currently serving heavy trucks and farm equipment. There are 2 large horse operations north and south of this particular site. I also found that the surrounding land uses and zoning are similar and compatible to other locations in the county where we have already approved these kennels. The existing property appears to have been vacant for a long period of time. It appeared to be in disrepair, and that new investment and ownership in the property would in fact improve the site, and so any concept of property value loss, in my view, is not warranted. And I believe the staff also found that this is consistent with our 2040 plan, and more importantly, consistent with the F farming district. And the last point I want to make is that I would advise that it's very important for this county board to administer its zoning ordinance consistently. If you look at the facts of this case and then look at the facts of other kennels, some recently approved in the county, very similarly situated, I would think somebody referenced the concept of litigation. I would certainly want this board to act properly if there were litigation, to remain consistent in its decision-making and recommend approval of this special use as we have in several other areas of the county.
Could I get a clarification? Thank you, Mr. Donahue. Can I get a clarification? Mr. Donahue says in what he just mentioned that when this was brought initially, the recommendation from staff was approve. Now I'm under the impression from what Ms. Barrero shared with us that the staff position is neutral. Can you clarify that for me, please?
Mr. Chairman, if you let me clarify that. Dog kennels have traditionally been one of the most controversial land use decisions that you make as a county board. When a petitioner originally comes to the county, we look at it from a staff standpoint. Our initial recommendation, there didn't seem to be any issues with the location. But the process is the process, and part of that is the public hearing process for the public to speak and the neighboring property owners to voice their opinion. Once they voiced their opinion, as Chairman Barrero pointed out, we changed our staff position to neutral because now it is clearly in your hands as the county board members on making this land use decision.
Okay, thank you very much. Other people who would like to go, excuse me, Ms. Auger.
Having a background in zoning, special use permits are temporary and they require a time frame. What is the time frame on this one?
In this particular aspect of the zoning ordinance, the special use does not have a time frame. That would be, we do have a provision in the ordinance for interim special uses, but that's not what the petitioner has applied for.
Okay, other thoughts, comments? Mr. Frost, then Ms. Gillum.
I agree with everything Mr. Donahue said, so I will just simply add that I'm a big advocate of the Rustic Roads program. Thurnau Road was our first rustic road. I followed the program as Director Van Kerkhoff developed it and spent a year or more putting my own road in the process. So my heart is with the objectors, but as a member of the Development Committee, I don't remember an issue where just about the entire committee drove out to a very remote site and looked at it. And having looked at it, the big things that affected my decision to support the petitioner is the fact that we're 300 to 400 feet off the road. And we're about 300 feet from the nearest neighbor, not their lot line, but from their house. And they have agreed subsequently to our meeting to put up some screening, possibly berms and shrubs. The 3 dogs outside at a time is similar to any single-family residence is allowable. The air-conditioned room, you're not going to get the noise. I really don't see the traffic as a viable argument. On our particular road, once it was declared a rustic road where I live, we've subsequently had 2 farm markets open up and a vineyard and a horse rescue, which generate way more traffic than this will. And this is a small, winding gravel road identical to this situation, and we welcome those things. So I'm in support of it. My heart's with the objectors, but I'm supporting the petitioner.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. Ms. Gillum?
I was one of the people that voted against this in Development Committee. I was actually for it until I drove out to the site and was able to walk around and look at it. I'm not, regarding the road, I'm not worried about the safety issues. I was a little concerned, and we did hear from the Rutland Road Highway Commissioner, and he was concerned about the cost of any additional traffic on the road and what the township would incur. So I did take that into consideration. But when I went out there and I saw how close the Weber's house was to the proposed site, that was my main concern, not necessarily regarding sightlines, but the noise. My parents had a kennel on their property they lived out in the country, and every time somebody, a critter, a raccoon, whatever, would come by, all the dogs would start barking and they woke you up at night. That's just my personal experience from living on property that has a kennel, and that's why I voted against it.
Thank you, Ms. Gillum. Could you share with us what was the position of Jay Schultz in his absence, the Rutland Township Highway Commissioner? Was he for or against?
He was asking who was going to be responsible for how he was going to come up with money.
So he didn't take a position?
Yes, he did. He was against it.
He was against?
Yes.
Okay, the answer is against. Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Smith.
Mr. Chairman, in reference to Jay Schultz, who was the Rutland Township Highway Commissioner, I talked to him at length about this issue, and he was definitely opposed to it. And one of his major concerns was the wear and tear and damage to the road and the amount of money that it would take for him and his people to keep that road up to snuff and to make it work properly. So if he were here, I know he would definitely talk against it. His big thing was, you're going to tear this road up. The county is voting to tear this road up, and who's going to pay for it? Not the county but the people of Rutland Township. So he was definitely opposed to it. Also, after that, the last development meeting, which, by the way, was not attended by everybody on the development committee, and the vote was just a one-vote plurality in favor of it, I talked to one of the other board members, and he expressed to me that the petitioner had a right to operate a business. I said, that may be very true, but what about the right of the neighbors to have peace and quiet?
I understand. Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. Ms. Lesh?
Chairman, if I may also, I think tag on to Commissioner Auger's position with the permit. One of my questions that I had is, in the sense, knowing that it's a zoning issue, but I don't hear animal control in this as well. So, hearing some of the concerns of the constituents with complaints and noise, is there something that, of course, the animal control can do, in a sense, with working with those that have kennels on their property throughout the county? So I would like to see maybe more of that information as well, because if there's continuous noise complaints or anything, I mean, that can always be pulled to permit if it's an open permit, correct? Through zoning? Mark? Thank you.
I'm sorry. A couple of the issues you brought up. One, if there were noise complaints that were part of it, that fall under our property maintenance ordinance in general. If there was a excessive problem that the county board felt that needed to take the action, the county could take action to revocate the zoning. That's a very long and difficult legal process to do, especially once they've invested money and resources to construct a facility and have a vested interest. So it's an enforcement issue. And noise is one of the most difficult complaint issues. Just ask the county sheriff to determine when what noise is excessively bothersome.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Castro.
You know what, Mr. Chairman, I think we've been talking about this long enough. I think it's time to call the question.
Well, I appreciate that. If there are really items that will bring the collective wisdom of this body together, I mean, I would like to hear it, what you heard from the residents, what you've heard from the proponents. I would like to, are there big pieces of information that is going to make the quality of this decision better? I would like to entertain those. Ms. Allen.
Point of order. Oh, once the question's called, don't you have to take the vote?
If he recognizes you. He did.
Which he did.
He did.
You did.
There has to be a second.
Okay, I'm not recognizing a second. I want to hear...
You can't do that. That's a violation of rules of order.
No. There is a motion, which is in her right to make the motion.
Correct.
It requires a second. It's in my authority as the chairman to say if we need more discussion. I mean, I'm more aware than anybody in this room about what we have on the agenda today. I've already removed big, important pieces that I announced at the beginning of the meeting because I know what we're going through today. But think about what you're doing in this area, in this neighborhood. It's a big deal. It's one of the things that was just mentioned by Mr. Van Kerkhoff, is this is a permanent kind of decision, and it affects a whole area of the county we serve. So I think it's within, I know it's within my prerogative to say I'm not recognizing a second. We'll go to the next speaker, who is Deb Allen. And if you'd share some wisdom with us, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Van Kerkhoff, can I ask you, you said that these that kennels tend to be some of the, they draw the lightning strikes. So can you help us not reinvent the wheel? What I'm hearing here today is that a neighborhood has shown up to be concerned about this particular petition. In the other ones that we've granted, did we have neighborhoods show up to talk about a kennel being put in their neighborhood?
Well, I wouldn't be able to speak for the entire history of special use kennels, but typically, the ones that you've approved, like the one you approved several months ago, did not have any objectors.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Vasquez, I'm going to recognize 3 more people in the discussion out of respect of both Ms. Castro's desire and the time frame that we have to make the decision. But Mr. Vasquez, you're one of the 3.
Yeah, and Mark, maybe if you can come back up and stuff, this kind of is a question for you and stuff, but I think under special use permits, that we issue, there is no timetable. However, we as a body have an opportunity to review it at any time and take that use away. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Mr. Sheffalo?
Many years ago, I was on the board of directors of the Anderson Animal Shelter in South Elgin, and a lot of people are probably familiar with that facility. And
could you speak up, please, so that we can hear?
Talking about the Anderson Animal Shelter in South Elgin, and it was adjacent to vacant land, and that vacant land was zoned industrial. And a residential developer came forward and petitioned to rezone that property, and the village of South Elgin did that. We fought it as much as we could, short of going to court, I guess. But, so it got rezoned and they built urban density subdivisions surrounding the shelter. That forced us to put all new windows in that were insulated and add air conditioning, and change the way that dogs are allowed out at night. They have their own little run. But the bottom line, the reason I bring that up is that they're peacefully coexisting now. You don't hear about issues between the residents and the kennels. So I think the air conditioning and the method of operation permits a residential district. We have high-density single-family, and then somewhat to the north is a townhouse development. And there just generally has not been a problem with that operation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheffalo. Any other thoughts? Mr. Fraz, because you've gone before, I think that when it goes up, are you raising your hand, Mr. Lewis? I am raising my hand. All right. You have the final word.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This vote seems to be very specific to Ann, who would be running the kennel. And there's an obligation that only 3 dogs will be released or open in the future, et cetera. And it's been brought to our attention that Ann is the petitioner but is not the owner of the property. And I'm very curious if it's normal and customary for the county board to change zoning on behalf of a petitioner who is not the owner of the property. As, for instance, any petitioner, any citizen then could approach us for rezoning without owning it.
Sure. No, it is permitted by your ordinance for a petitioner to not be the property owner. They have to be a contract purchaser, and the petition for the zoning change also has to be signed by the current owner of the property. And it does happen from time to time due to the fact that the sale and the proposed reason for the purchase might, as it does in this case, base on the approval of the entitlements, the use that the buyer wants to have for the property.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, the motion's made in a second. I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Ellen? No. Harder? No. Barry? No. Castro?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Donahue? Yes. Ford?
No.
Franz?
Yes.
Gillian?
No.
That's a no.
No.
Heyman? No. Kenyon?
Wake him up.
Mr. Kenyon?
Wake him up. Wake him up.
This is a no. Kazaki?
Yes.
Lash?
Yes.
Lewis?
No.
Molina?
No.
Pollock? Yes. Sheffro?
Yes.
Silva?
No.
Smith?
No.
Sarah?
I know.
No.
I said, I know. Sorry. I guess no.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez. Yes. Winnicki.
No.
Okay, the result of the vote is that there are 10 yeses and 13 noes. The petition fails. Thank you very much for your deliberate consideration. Next item on the agenda is petition 4305. Let's see. Would Chairman Barrero want to make a motion to approve
Mr. Chairman,
petition?
I'd actually like to table this motion for 1 month. We have an item on Development Committee that pertains to this very item, tomorrow's agenda.
All right. Second of table motion by Mr. Kozarek, second by Mr. Donahue. The clerk will call the roll.
Allen. Auger.
Yes.
Barrero.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Davis. Donahue. Yes. Ford. Yes. Frog.
Yes.
Gillian. Heyman.
Yes.
Kenyon. Yes. Kazari.
Yes.
Bosch.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock. Sheffro. Yes. Silva. Yes. Smith. Yes. Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor. Yes. Vasquez.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion and second, the motion passes to table. The motion to table passes. Next is petition 4310. Would Chairman Barrero care to make a motion to approve this?
Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Barrero moves it, seconded by Ms. Allen. Is there any discussion? If no discussion, I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Allen. Auger.
Yes.
Barrero.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Donahue. Yes. Ford. Yes. Frog.
Yes.
Gillian.
Yes.
Heyman. Yes. Kenyon. Yes. Kazari.
Yes.
Bosch. Yes. Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock. Yes. Sheffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith. Yes. Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Vasquez. Yes. Winnicki.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Petition 4311. Would Chairman Barrero care to make a motion to approve petition 4311?
Yes, I make motion to approve 43.
Okay, so Ms. Barrero makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Wojnicki seconds the motion. Any discussion on petition 4311?
Mr. Chairman, in the interest of expediency, this is in my district, and I'm definitely in favor.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, would the clerk call the roll?
Allen. Auger.
Yes.
Barrero.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Donahue. Yes. Ford. Yes. Frog.
Yes.
Gillian.
Yes.
Heyman. Yes. Kenyon. Yes. Kazari. Yes. Bosch.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock. Yes. Sheffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Because Mr. Smith said yes, I will say yes.
I'll walk in
Yes.
the morning, Jesse.
Yes.
The motion passes. Okay. Next on the agenda, would anyone like to remove any item from the consent agenda along the same lines of Mr. Kozarek's motion? I'd like to remove 1466, the Liquor Control Commission, which deals with the same property. So we'll give that another month. Other than that, are there others that, Ms. Wojnicki?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Number 14-50 and number 14-51.
Okay. Others? Mr. Lewis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 14-61.
14-61. Okay, any others? Okay, if not, then, let's see. I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exceptions of 1466, 1450, 1451, 1461.
So moved.
Mr. Kozarek, you're making that motion, seconded by Ms. Wonicky. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Allen. Auger.
Yes.
Ferrero.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Donahue. Yes. Ford. Yes. Franz.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Yes.
Kenyon. Yes. Nazari. Yes. Bosch.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock. Yes. Sheffro. Yes. Silva.
Yes.
Smith. Yes. Sterry.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez. Yes. Winicky.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, first up is 14-50. Ms. Wonicky?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I move 1450 and 1451 together? I was just
Yes,
going to
okay.
combine.
So Ms. Wonicky makes a motion to move 14-50 and 14-51 together, made by Ms. Wonicky, second by Ms. Allen, and then discussion, Ms. Wonicky.
Just quickly, I just removed these for informational purposes, just to announce that it's our Ken Anderson, our very wonderful staff person, Ken Anderson, who will be our plat officer and our stormwater director for Kane County.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other thoughts, comments? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Allen. Auger.
Yes.
Ferrero.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Donahue. Yes. Ford. Yes. Franz. Yes. Williams. Amon.
Yes.
Kenyon. Yes. Kazar.
Yes.
Bosch.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock. Yes. Sheffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith. Yes. Sterry.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Winicky.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Next up is number 1461, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis moves it.
Yes.
Seconded by Mr. Vasquez. Mr. Lewis?
Yes, I pulled this off the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for recognition. I pulled this off the agenda. This is the shooting range at the Sheriff's Office. I've spoke on this issue a number of times. My position is that it needs more thought. It needs, the issue came forward as a $1 million project, and it's turned into a $2 million project, which basically doubles the impact to the citizens of Kane County. The timing of the gun range coincides with a change in conceal and carry within the state of Illinois. And I think we have a window of opportunity to commingle, if you will, a $2 million investment by the citizens of the county into a gun range, and I believe that we have the opportunity to engage the Sheriff's Office in the operation and future of this capital addition, and I view it as a capital addition for the citizens of Kane County. In the discussion that we've had in the ensuing 2 months of this capital project, brought forward the concept of cooperation, of public engagement in that site, and although it's been recognized, it has not been included. And so I'm disappointed about that, and I would like this board to put the brakes on this and basically send it back to the Sheriff's Office and committee for the purpose of including it in a more comprehensive capital plan in the Judicial Center. We have other capital issues out there, and I hate to see this one go through as a standalone project, and particularly because I don't believe it is in the long term. Well, I think there's opportunity for the long-term public. So I brought it forward. I encourage my fellow board members to vote this down. I intend to vote no for those reasons, and I would encourage my fellow board members to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I understand that we have Mr. Vasquez, Ms. Castro, Ms. Starrett, who would like to speak, but before we go to that, those speakers, I'd like to ask the sheriff if you or your staff would like to make a short presentation of what it is that we're addressing. So, Sheriff Perez, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you. Brian Kronritter from Cordigan and Clark will do the presentation. I just want to counter a couple of your points. My job is the law. My job is understanding the concealed carry law. And under your proposition, anyone who sets foot on our property would be arrested by us because under the concealed carry law, having a weapon on the grounds of a correctional facility is a violation of that concealed carry law. So your proposal means anybody that walks through that door, we arrest, number one. Number two, it's a controlled access. The only people that are allowed in that part of our property are employees of the sheriff's office only, through prox cards, or if their prox card fails, they push a button and someone in building control opens the gate and allows them in. There's also, you're talking about commingling with the public. I don't think you understand the liability you are putting this county under by opening a facility that is owned by the county to the general public. If someone has an accidental discharge, shoots themselves, shoots someone else on the range, or they get their qualification through the sheriff's office, go out, commit a crime, get the checkbook out, because the county is going to be sued without fail. So there's a tremendous liability to the county that I don't think you're considering. You're looking at this as a profitable venture. The role of government is not to create profit. The role of government is to provide service. This is not something that we need to commingle with the public. This is something that our deputies need and require in order to protect the public. I have many counters to your argument. This has been thought out. This has been discussed. We started this 2 years ago before anybody started about a 5-year project. This is something that should have been built when our facility was built and opened in 2008, but it wasn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Perez. Brian, thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure. Just give you guys a quick overview of the project as it currently stands. Oops. The range will be attached to the existing jail, the Sally Port, as you see in this arrangement here. The layout, it's a very simple building. We have a firing range, which is labeled firing lanes there. A ready room, classroom for the sheriff, ammo storage, an office, toilet, and some weapons cleaning areas. So it's a very simple building. An interior image of what the range itself looks like. An exterior rendering of the facility. This is looking at it from a bird's eye view. This is all, as the sheriff indicated, controlled access area for people allowed into the facility. Another close-up view of the new facility. It is a precast, simple building. Schedule-wise, if it is approved today, you can see the plan of attack is to begin construction in May and occupy the facility in October of this year. We bid this project out back in December. We opened bids December 6th. These are just some of the bid results. We had over 22 bids on the project. Very, very competitive bids. We are reaching the end of the period with which the bids will still be held. There's 90 days for the bidders to hold their prices. That is the information there. It gets you to the current project price. For what it's worth, our company has been involved in over 25 firing ranges across the country. We understand how these buildings go together. This is right in line with what typical ranges do cost.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brian. I think next in order was Mr. Vasquez, then Ms. Castro, then Ms. Sterrett, if you'd like. Mr. Vasquez.
No, I don't have a question on this one, sir.
Okay. Ms. Castro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Mr. Perez actually touched on a few of the things to Mr. Lewis's concerns, liability. The other thing that we don't want to do is take away business from small business. We have Get Guns who does training. I don't think it's wise for government to get in the business of training folks. I think we should let our small businesses do that, and we have quite a few in this community that do that. The other thing that Mr. Lewis fails to touch on is the fact that when the jail was built, and I wasn't on that board, and many of us weren't on that board when the decision was made, you had to realize the shooting range eventually would have to be built. I mean, you were moving the jail. You had an antiquated jail that was going to get torn down. We've been talking about Settlers Hill and selling the property, and so eventually, and the jail was on that property. So, I mean, the shooting range was on that property. So shame on the board that made the planning. While I understand why they made the planning that they made, was, they were looking at the dollars amount. You had a jail from the day it was open, was too small. We didn't have a shooting range on it. Now we have to correct that. You have a shooting range you can't use now because it's underwater and it's been deemed inhabitable. Mr. Perez has also said that he would work with local governments to see if they would also partner with that, and I think he's gotten some responses, some positive responses. So, if we wait for another construction cycle, I mean, the time is now. If we pass this, if we wait and push it and table it, you're going to miss the cycle, and then you're risking that the costs will go up. So I'm in favor of this project, and I think let's move forward with it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Castro. Ms. Sterrett, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Yes.
Okay, Ms.
Yes,
Sterrett.
thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the sheriff and Corrigan Clark. Very good information. I think there are two main issues here involving this. Number one is safety, which is exactly what the sheriff mentioned. I think it's very important for us to have people that work in the sheriff's department that are familiar with how to use their firearms. If they don't practice, then they don't know how to do it. I'm sorry, but if I'm in a situation and are unfortunately having to deal with something, and I have a sheriff's department person, I'd like them to know how to use their firearm. If they are not as familiar, I don't feel as comfortable with it. The second thing is, I think the second issue is finance. Now, our chairman of that is John Holscheit, and he has stated, I believe, that he has felt that it was okay to move forward with this, that we had it in the budget, that, of what we had to use with the sheriff. We've had many discussions with him over this. Personally, I think that if it is, I feel it's something we need. That's the end of the story.
Thank
so
you,
I'm
Ms.
voting in favor.
Thank you, Ms. Sterrett. I think that Mr. Kenyon, you were next, and then Mr. Frost.
I want to speak in favor of a shooting range. I'm pro-law enforcement. This board has always wanted to have the best tools for our sheriff's office, our police. They have to have good cars, they have to have good vests, they have to have the best training. Our family's always depended on this police force. It may be expensive, but doggone it, we have to put up the money to have the best for our citizens. This county didn't get to be great by being cheap. Seriously, it's going to cost a little, but it's what we need to do. You like that quote, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Kenyon. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
This will be money well spent, and we have to support our police force. So I know it's a lot of money, but I would vote in favor of the shooting range.
Thank you, Mr. Kenyon. Mr. Frost?
I was originally somewhat skeptical of this project when it first came up many months ago, but I strongly support it now. I think it's really important to remember that when the original sheriff's office was built, it had a shooting range. That was in 1974. It was determined we needed one then. We've been without it now for 5 years since it flooded after the demolition. I'm told that first of all, the Kane County Sheriff's Office and the corrections, we're second only to Aurora as far as being we're the second largest law enforcement agency in the county with over 300 sworn officers that need to qualify. I'm told the Aurora recently built a facility and it cost $8 million, so we're about 23% of their facility. And we had hoped to start last fall to get the foundation in. We missed out on it. So in my mind, we're already behind on this. So I strongly encourage the board to support it and move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Mr. Davis?
Sheriff, you and I worked together on a lot of these things over many years. I followed Mr. Kenyon as Judicial Public Safety Chair. And to Ms. Castro's comments there, we did get that project built, and we would have made it larger if we could at the time, but my recollection was that we wanted to bring it in on time and under budget, and be a good steward of tax dollars. So we did the best we could, and we did create space that allows us to now have the federal prisoner program, which is creating revenue that, it put us in a position to do the things that we're doing today.
Yes, because we're not using that space to house federal inmates.
The overall structure put us in a good position to do the things that we're doing today.
Yes, if we need to move forward in the future with growth, we can when that's built out.
So, just to Christina's comments, I think it was a good project delivered on time and under budget. I've always been a proponent of having the shooting range. You know that. You and I have talked about it and worked on it for a long time. We talked about bringing in any other agency and municipality that was interested in using it and getting commitments from them. I had hoped that would be a little further along in terms of commitments from them. So I've never been opposed to the idea of giving you guys the equipment and all the tools that you need to do the job. And I still believe that. My concern has been that we didn't have this project identified in our capital projects and prioritized. I just want to caution, my colleagues that when you do that, when you begin to take things out of the order that you had set for yourselves, it could be a dangerous direction to go. But it's not that I don't want you guys to have the things that you need to have.
And we began the groundwork on this 2 years ago with Tim Harbaugh. And the reason we are generating a surplus revenue to the tune of over $1 million every year through our correctional facility is we have worked hand in hand with the state's attorney and the chief judge to identify who does not need to be in our jail and bring us added costs. By doing this cohesive relationship, we have emptied a lot of beds in our facility that have allowed us to bring in the federal inmates and actually create a surplus revenue. So this was something that I am not going to take credit for. The judge isn't going to take credit for, the state's attorney, but the three of us together can take credit for. And we had the foresight to see we need this range. This is a project that's a necessity. It's not a luxury. And we took it upon ourselves to create this revenue through the Marshal Service.
Thank you very much.
And this is a revenue that will continue when I retire in 9 months.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Sheriff Perez, excuse me. Unless there are any other, really good, pieces to improve the quality of our decision, Mr. Smith, you'll have the last word.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Having had 36 years in law enforcement, I know how important this is. I have been to federal court in a shooting incident case, a violation of civil rights. One of the big questions, and a large part of the testimony, was the fact that the officers had competent firearms training. Their firearm qualification scores were brought out. This, if we turn this down, the minimum judgment in federal court on a shooting incident is usually $5 or $6 million. The bottom line. If we turn this down, we don't give these people a shooting range, the fact that we don't have this shooting range would be evidence in federal court that could come back and cost us a heck of a lot more money than we're going to have to pay for the range.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Motion's been made and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Auger.
Yes.
Bavaria.
Yes.
Davis. No. Castro.
Yes.
Ford. Yes. Fox.
Yes.
Gilliam.
No.
Hyman.
Yes.
Bocek. Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazari.
Yes.
Lash. Yes. Lewis. No. Molina.
Yes.
Yes. Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Zanicki.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next is number 14-02, authorizing a contract for the new signage at the Government Center Complex. Who would move that? Mr. Vasquez, second by Ms. Castro. Discussion?
Yeah, we have to.
No, the liquor license has to do with the property that Mr. Kozarek says is going to be dealt with in greater detail at the Standing Committee tomorrow. So thank you for reminding me. Mr. Vasquez? Let's see, you made the motion. Who seconded? Ms. Castro seconded. Any discussion on that?
Discussion.
If you would want to lay that out, Mr. Ford, did you want to? This is the signage issue. About where does that stand?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has been through here before, and the main discussion is not the overall sign, is the sign that sits out in front along the roadway. After further review by the Administration Committee, I think we passed it like 4-3 or 3-2. The thing of it is, for me, is that this, coming from the south, this is not a monumental sign we're installing, it's a directional sign. And the last 4 trips I made up here, I paid close attention to what it takes to find a facility. When we come up here now with the landscaping, we don't see the full out blown out of the landscaping. Once the leaves come on the trees and the bushes bloom out, we'll see that you can't see the facility until you get right up to the light. And then it's kind of hard to actually know exactly where you're at. So this is a directional sign that indicates that you are now at the facility. The purpose of adding a few more dollars to it, so it's a quality sign, is I myself respect the city that it's in, and they have actually spent quality dollars to have a great presentation here in Geneva. And I think we should respect that in spending the same amount of quality dollars. I think this is a quality project. We're not just putting a regular sign out there in an area that's been respected and have pushed businesses and for themselves to put money into it to do quality presentations on the roadside. To me, it's well needed to do it in a quality way. It's not that many more dollars to do it. We spend a great deal amount of money on a lot of parts of this county. Adding a few more dollars to put in a quality directional sign when we had a monumental sign that faces the other direction has no indication either way of this facility coming from the south. I think it's a quality project to put it in this directional sign, spending quality dollars.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. That is an accurate description and well said of how it came out of committee. My understanding of the current status of this resolution is that then when it progressed into the Finance Committee, a motion was made to amend the resolution to take out the southern sign, monument sign, and it was successful. That motion was successful in that committee. So I believe that the status is that it's what we have voted in the past, less the southern monument sign. And I've confirmed that with Mr. Lulvis, and I see people nodding their heads who are at the other. I respect the discussion on both sides of the issue. Are there any wrap-up kind of, before we go to the vote on the resolution as amended? Mr. Fraz, then Mr. Donahue.
I just want to acknowledge Dave Rickert's office, especially Della Winkler, who identified a problem that our guests visiting us here at the Government Center were having and took the initiative. It's not really under their responsibility, but they took the initiative to bring this forward, get the bids, and identify a problem and solve it. So I want to compliment them.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Fraz. Mr. Donahue?
I'd like to just clarify that. Is this vote on a brick monument sign or a black bureaucratic directional sign.
It's out
Nothing.
altogether.
No, ma'am.
It's out altogether.
It's out altogether.
Yeah, Finance voted it out, to have the,
Signs were already approved, as I understand it.
no.
They were not.
No, we actually voted on the other signs, and it's not really a monument sign, it's a directional sign, but it's been removed by finance.
What's the total cost of what we're voting on right now?
Read your packet. It's in the packet.
$40,000?
It's right in front. It's on.
I believe that it says on the executive summary, $33,700.
I'm going to vote no on this. I think this is a complete waste of money at the end of the day. You know, there's some incredible hypocrisy that goes on here. We've been arguing, not personally, but I read my emails about all the arguments going on over the chairman's proposed raises. You know, the total dollar effect of that is somewhere in the vicinity of these signs. I mean, let's forget the signs and pay our people. I mean, we don't need these signs. Are we going to spend $33,000 for what? It's a waste of money. Let's vote no.
I understand the point. Thank you, Mr. Donahue. The clerk will call the roll.
Allen. Auger.
Yes.
Herrera.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Davis. Yes. Donahue. No. Ford. Yes. Franz. Yes. William.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Kenyon. I'll vote no.
Are you sure?
The people desire.
Yes.
Flash.
No.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
No.
Holly. Yes. Sheffro. Yes. Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Garrett.
Yes.
Taylor. Vasquez.
I agree with Mike, no.
Konecki.
I'll vote no.
The motion passes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve Mr. Kenyon in place of Ms. Barrero on Public Service Committee. So moved by Mr. Ford, second by Mr. Smith. All those in, clerk will call the roll.
Allen. Auger. Ferrera. Castro.
Yes.
Davis. Yes. Donahue. Yes. Ford. Yes. Franz. Yes. Gillen.
Yes.
Hyman.
Yes.
Kenyon. I suppose I should abstain.
You suppose right.
Should I vote yes? What do we do?
Abstain.
Yes.
Flash. Lewis. Yes. Molina.
Yes.
Holly. Yes. Sheffro.
Yes.
Silva. Yes. Smith. Yes. Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Konecki.
Motion passes. Next, I'd like to ask Mr. Donahue to lay out his thoughts on Settlers Hill status.
Chairman, late last week, I received a call from representatives of Waste Management indicating a desire to meet regarding the concerns outlined in my letter of March 4th, which you all received. We did meet this morning for an hour before the Forest Preserve Commission meeting, and I would characterize the meeting as generally productive. I believe the representatives from Waste Management communicated to me that they were looking to get things back on track and moving forward in a positive direction. And toward that end, I outlined 2 goals and 3 expectations that I'd like to see accomplished in order to demonstrate that commitment to moving forward with Settlers Hill. First of all, the goals that I outlined would be that by July 1st, we would work together to complete engineering design and submit permit applications for the first elements of the Settlers Hill Master Plan, including the Phase 1 golf course improvements for the driving range and the relocation of the first hole, and also for the construction of the cross-country course and fitness trail system, so that construction on these projects could begin in spring of 2015. I also talked to them about a new goal, which would be a new initiative to open the summit to public access in 2014. This would involve constructing a simple, inexpensive footpath from a trailhead to be located on the east side of the landfill to the top of the landfill. The expectations that I outlined were that The parties would make the accommodations necessary to finalize the amendments to the landfill operating agreement in time for review and approval by the Forest Preserve Commission and County Board Standing Committees in April, with final ratification here at the full boards at our meeting in May. Secondly, that in the meantime and without delay, Waste Management would appoint a staff person who is authorized to work with the county and the Forest Preserve staff on the design and implementation of physical improvements that may be proposed on the landfill from time to time. This staff person would be available to participate in meetings, to review feasibility studies and concept plans, to review subsequent engineering plans, to sign off on permit applications required for construction, and to co-inspect construction work as it occurs in the field, and to undertake any other activities that may be reasonably necessary to facilitate the implementation of end-use projects. And finally, I express the expectation that going forward, that Waste Management, the Forest Preserve, and the county would work constructively together to implement those end-use projects that the parties and the public deem feasible and desirable. The two representatives I met with are Mr. Bill Schubert, who is the Senior Director of Disposal Operations for the Closed Facilities Group from Waste Management, and Rod Stipe, who's the District Manager here at Settlers Hill. Those two individuals are in the audience in case you have any questions of them, but I think right now we had a productive discussion, and we'll be looking for progress, actual evidence of progress following today's meetings. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Donahue. Are there any comments on the subject that Mr. Donahue has raised? Mr. Lewis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to congratulate Mr. Donahue on his leadership here. I think he's taken on a very important task for the citizens of Kane County. I'm very encouraged by the meeting this morning. This is an issue where 30 years ago, three parties, Waste Management, Kane County, and the Kane County Forest Preserve came together, and there was a vision put out 30 or 35 years ago. The exact date escapes me, but there was a vision on an end use, and there was a cooperation on initiating this project, and I'm very encouraged that there is cooperation on implementing the end use of this project. I look forward to tangible results of that meeting. I have a great deal of respect for Waste Management. They're one of the nation's highest quality companies, providing a very fundamental, basic service to the community of Kane County. And my expectation of that organization is to cooperate and be a part of motivating all parties to implement the vision that we had when we established Settlers Hill 35 years ago. The community of Geneva, Batavia, St. Charles, and Central Kane County in general look forward to an end use, a productive end use for that site. It's 700 acres. It deserves the vision that was laid down by the leaders 35 years ago, and we have an obligation, this body sitting here, the Kane County Forest Preserve, which sits here, and the gentlemen who represent their very high-quality company, to make this vision happen. And so I'm committed to it, and I am motivated by this morning's meeting, and I look forward to progress on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Two final comments, Mr. Vasquez, then Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, just on your report, I didn't hear much about the possibility, when we're looking at this overall project, the impact it might have on the music venues as compared to Aurora, because they're concerned about that particular issue. I brought it up in previous meetings, and was there any discussion regarding that particular issue so that it's not competing?
Mr. Donahue, thank you.
Yes, I mean, we did talk about the fact that there are 11 elements to the plan, and that each element would come forward based on its feasibility and acceptance to the public and to the parties being Waste Management, Forest Preserve, and County. We only really talked today about those elements which I described, which are the golf course improvements and the cross-country course improvements. Subsequent phases would have to come forward individually and really go through public scrutiny before we would move it to the stage of engineering and design. So we're really only focused now on the first phases that I talked about.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Smith.
And for Mr. Donahue, Mike, the gentlemen that you met with today, were these different than the people you had met with at the last meeting?
Well, Mr. Stipe has been with us for many years, worked very well with the county over the years at Settlers Hill. Mr. Schubert is somebody I just met today, but who expressed to me that he's been involved with Settlers Hill for 33 years. So he has the institutional memory that I like to see in terms of what was actually discussed 33 years ago, which I found helpful. And I found that Mr. Schubert's attitude toward getting things back on track to be positive, and I'm looking forward to that coming to fruition.
The reason I brought that up was after your last meeting, things were very negative, and we received your email on that. And now it looks like things have turned around, so that's great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Donahue, thank you very much for your work on that and keeping us on track. May I have a motion and a second to go into executive session to discuss pending litigation? So moved by Mr. Heyman, second by Ms. Auger. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Oh, no, excuse me. Yes.
You have to do roll call.
No, we're going to have a roll call on attendance.